Hello everybody, I'm that one magic dude, and I had somebody comment saying they wanted a Spongebob deck tech, so here is a Spongebob deck tech. So we're going to talk about what he does, ways to trigger him multiple times, payoffs, all that sorts of stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. So, Spongebob Squarepants is a reprint of Jodah the Unifier. He's a Wooburg 5/5 that says, legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. So really, when he comes out, he's minimum 6/6, because he counts himself. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, it's Legendary Cascade is pretty much what it is. You cast a legendary spell, you get another one for free. 2-for-1 legendaries. So, the first thing we need to figure out is how are we going to trigger this as many times as we can. So we're going to use cards like Kellen the Kid. He is a green-white-blue 3/3 flying lifelink. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you can cast a permanent spell with lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you can put a land card out for free. Now, the way we can use Kellen, we cast a legendary spell, cascade, exiling another legendary spell into exile, cast the exiled legendary spell for free. Because we cast it from exile, not our hand, we can then cast a permanent from our hand, another legendary, which will trigger Jodah, or Spongebob, again, which will exile something, let us trigger Kellen again. It's just a very big cascadey web until we get down to nothing. Just putting a land card out. We've also got Annie Joins Up. It is a 4-cost red, green, white enchantment. If a triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So now, if we cast a legendary spell, we get to search for the next 2 legendaries with equal or lesser mana value than what we cast, and then we get to cast those for free, triggering Kellen twice for each cast, letting us bring out a total of 4 if we have them, which will trigger Jodah twice for each of the 4 triggers, so 8 total, with a doubling effect on Annie, it's a little ridiculous. So, now that we've talked about how are we going to get this as many times as we can, let's talk about some payoffs for using Jodah's ability, or Spongebob's ability. So first off, we've got Kellen Joins Up. Whenever a legendary creature enters under your control, all of your creatures get a +1/+1 counter. So the more times we activate Spongebob and Kellen the Kid, the more creatures we're getting out there, the more counters everything's getting. That's pretty easy to understand. Alright. We have Kodama of the East Tree. Whenever another permanent enters under your control, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, you may put a permanent with equal or lesser mana cost from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, not only does this let us double our lands, because we play a land, and then we can play another one using Kodama, but when we cascade a legendary, we get to put one out from our hand. It doesn't trigger Spongebob's ability again, but it is another free permanent. And then we have Kadric's Soul Kindler. The legend rule doesn't apply to tokens you control. It is a Boros 4-drop 4/3. Whenever another non-token legendary permanent enters under your control, you can pay 1. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it, and it gains haste, sack it at the beginning of the next end step. We get to copy our legendaries that come out. Alright, and then we're going to talk about some ways to beef up our legendaries. So we have things like Akroma's Memorial. All of your creatures have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and red. So we're getting a whole lot of keywords on all of our creatures. We have Odric Lunarch Marshal. At the beginning of every combat, creatures you control gain first strike if a creature you control has first strike, and the same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So the keywords that are on all of our creatures get added on to every creature during combat. And then we've got Hero's Podium. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control. So it's Jodah -1, basically, or Spongebob -1. It also has pay X, look at the top X cards of your library, reveal a legendary creature card from among them, put it into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom. So it's a good way to search for legendary cards. So let's go ahead and look at the deck list that I've got prepared for SpongeBob. This is what we've got going right here. Obviously, we've got SpongeBob as our commander. Invasion of Fiora. It's a legendary board wipe, so we can destroy all non-legendary creatures with it. And then we can remove counters from a permanent whenever it attacks if we switch the battle. We have 4 planeswalkers in this deck. The most important ones are Kaya, which her ultimate ability is giving us an emblem. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can cast a legendary from your hand or graveyard or exile without paying its cost. So it's a good way to trigger SpongeBob during our upkeep. And Minskin Boo, when he enters and at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to create Boo, which is a legendary 1/1, and then you can do -2, sacrifice a creature, deal X damage to any target where X is that creature's power. So SpongeBob, she gives all legendary creatures +1/+1, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Minskin Boo counts as a legendary creature, but then also all of these other legendary creatures that we're running. It'll just be a big beefy hamster. And then Renin Realmbreaker will let us have all of our lands tapped for 1 of any color. It's a good mana fixer. As for our creatures, some interesting ones we have are Arvad the Cursed. Other legendaries get +2/+2. We use Asika, God of the Tree, as Prismatic Bridge. We reveal the top until we find a creature or planeswalker and put it out into the battlefield, just bringing out more cards. We have a Tali Primal Storm, so we can start stealing other players' cards, hopefully legendaries. Each legendary permanent you control has Ward 2. Gandalf the White, if a legendary permanent entering or leaving causes a triggered ability to happen, it triggers a second time. And we can cast our legendaries as though they had flash. We have Hajar Loyal Bodyguard, just in case we need him. Sack him. All legendary creatures you control get +1/+0 and indestructible till end of turn. Let's see, what else do we got in here that I haven't talked about? Kethis the Hidden Hand. Legendary spells cost 1 less to cast. We can exile 2 legendary cards from our graveyard. Until the end of the turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains, you may play it from your graveyard. It's a good recursion engine. We've got, what else we got in here? Samut, Voice of Dissent, Double Strike, Vigilance, Haste. We can pay a white and tap it to untap another creature. All of our creatures gain haste. Shalai to give everything hexproof. Should need to give everything menace, and also whenever we cast a legendary spell, we draw a card and lose a life, so it's card draw. To say Weatherlight Captain is a good search for legendary permanents. Creature spells you control can't be countered. I'm going to change the printing on this because you can't really read that one. But Vorinclex, whenever all of our land taps for double, opponent's lands don't untap for one turn after they've been tapped. And then Yoshimaru, whenever we play a legendary, he gets a +1/+1 counter. We've also got things like Kamal's Druidic Vow. We can look at the top X, put any number of land or legendary cards with mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Glorious Rebirth, return all legendary permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile all non-lands that aren't legendary. We've got Relic of Legends, so all of our legendary creatures will be mana dorks. It's always helpful. Bard class, all of our legendaries enter with an additional +1/+1. Legendaries get +2/+2. Legendaries get +2/+1 in Ward. Leyline of the Guild Pack, it's a mana fixer, making all of our lands tap for any color. Mirai's Wake is another mana doubler, also our creatures get stronger. Whenever one of our legendaries dies, Rakdos Joins Up will deal damage equal to that creature's power to any opponent. So if we get board wiped with a whole bunch of legendaries, somebody's probably going to die, especially with Jodah's ability, or Spongebob's ability. I just can't get that right. And then, yeah, we have War of the Last Alliance as a search for legendaries. So, let's go ahead and... Hold on, what? Weird. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a playtest on the deck. We're good on this, so we put that right back. Opulent Palace goes in tapped, into a Plains, into a Farseek, which we will grab. Are we missing a color? No, we're not. So we'll Farseek for a island. And it comes out tapped. And then we move on. Grab this here mountain. We've got 4 of our colors available to us. From here, we probably want to do Reiki. Whenever we play a legendary, we draw a card. And then we will go ahead and Alicia, who laughs, not that one, Alicia, who laughs at Fate. Whenever she attacks, she gets a +1/+1 counter. On your end step, it can return a creature with mana value less than or equal to its power from graveyard to the battlefield if I attacked. Cast a legendary, draw a card, play this great Hall of the Citadel. So now, oops, we've got all of our colors available to us. We can tap this and tap here for 2, I don't know, black, white, blue, red, 2 green. And then we tap everything else. Bring out a Jodah. All of our stuff is now getting +3/+3. So this is currently a 5. Swing, get a 6. If I had a 6 mana value creature in here, we could bring that back. Start moving on. Play a Yoshimaru. Tap this for 2 white for a flowering. We get a trigger on Yoshimaru. Tap this and this for a Vraska. We get another trigger on Yoshimaru. And all of our creatures get a death touch counter. All of our stuff is now +4/+4. Moving on from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing just 1 land for this guy. Also, wait a minute. I cast 1, 2, 3 legendary spells, so I get to draw 3 cards off that. Play this Reflecting Pool, play this Maelstrom Wanderer. I also skipped my cat. I don't have a Cascade Trigger for him. Wait a minute. Yeah. So, Maelstrom is 5, 6, 7. He's an 8 cost. So he has Cascade, but we also get a trigger from Jodah, or Spongebob, So let's start out with Spongebob, looking for a legendary that's 8 or less. That's not a legendary, should be. A Tolly, we'll cast that from exile. And then we have 2 Maelstrom triggers. So this is 1, and this is 2. And Cascade is a cast, but it doesn't come from hand, so Jodah doesn't get it. But Yoshimaru does get each one of them. So a Tolly, Kadric, and a Chromas. So it's now up at 5. So here we are, turn 8. Everything has Flying, First Strike, Vigi, Trample, Haste, and Protection from black and red. And we have Haste on all of our stuff. And everything is currently getting plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 7. So this guy right here is a 14/14 flyer. This right here is a 12/12 commander, and they all have vigilance, so they don't actually tap on attack. This deck can get out of hand really, really fast. It's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, that's it. Jodah Spongebob is really just a tribal legendary deck. Put a whole lot of legendaries in and beef other legendaries with it. So yeah, please comment if you want me to do any other deck techs. Please subscribe, and that's all. Thank you for watching.